podcast that tackles real problems with real solutions. We have in the studio this evening, Brother McLean Bay. We have Brother Dwayne. We have Brother Ishmael. We have Brother AD. We have my wife, Dr. Lisa. We have our sister Bridget. We have our producer Robin. We have Rico, and our special guest is AD. He is from yes, he is from First First Mind Development Group. So we're here to discuss uh, this evening. We're talking about a catch up on what we did last week, which is tackling the solutions of society and arresting development
Actually, we discussed the mindset.
mindsets as well. So I apologize for that. We're discussing mindsets. I don't have my notes queued up, but I have them now. So thank you, brother. So anybody want to chime in first? We are gonna.
The producer would like to chime in. She would like to say, everyone
Yes.
and introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
You want to start from playing back?
Yeah, my name is Louis Henry McLean Bay. I'm presently working with prisoners doing the right thing. I work as a paralegal. I did 11 years. Excuse me, I did 36 years, 11 months, and I was thinking about this brother today. I did 36 years, 11 months, 12 days, and 8 hours in the Mission Department of Correction, and I'm glad to be here. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been given an opportunity to try to help people. And that's what I like to do now.
My name is AD, as I call myself, with First Mind Development Group. First Mind Concept Development Group is originally how it started. I use AD as my initials because I'm a new person. So this is my after death calling right now.
That's good.
In the mindset of, like solutions for what problems are in front of me, us, callings that I've received, and I'm bearing my cross at this point. That's why I'm up here. And what thank you, we call collective thinking is pretty much the concept. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Collective thought. Those who control collective thought control reality. So we here to add to the process.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dwayne Powell. I am the executive director of Powell Consultation Services. I am a mental health counselor as well as a life coach. Have 34 years in the field, experience with every population of mental health, and I'm happy to be here today.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's the brother
Hey,
Ishmael. I'm a board member of Prisoners Doing the Right Thing. And just a black man giving back, contributing to his people.
Okay, with the podcast being on mindsets, the first thing I would like to ask is, what is a mindset? What is mindset?
The way we think and view things. That's the mindset based upon how our society has influenced the shaping of it. Anybody else?
Once again, I would always say mindset is a result of collective thinking. Those who control collective thought control reality. So mindset is culture.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
We do cultivate. Through programming, a lot of things are cultivated. But the goal right now is to get to heritage. which don't change. Cultivation can change. Culture can change.
Very good.
Every year. You know, so we got to be careful with how we adapt in receive culture. Because there's a lot of subcultures out here that didn't do us no good and sent us down the wrong path. So we got to find out what the heritage is. What's the first things that got us, to a successful, place on this earth. And history don't change. The backstory never changed.
No, it doesn't.
So that's
Coach
why
Dwayne, what would you say mindset is?
It's a reflection of the inner beliefs of who you are, what your capabilities are, how far you believe you can go. That's influenced by your environment. From the time we come into this world, we're constantly being influenced, and that shapes who we are and where we're going to be.
So true.
Ishmael, what you say mindset is?
Pretty much to sum up what the brother said, that it's like a frame of mind that positions an individual into a particular set of expectations, associations.
So would you say, guys, that we are a sum of our mindset?
indeed.
I want to expound on what I look at the mindset to be. And it boils down to, I think, clinical terms of psychology, the thoughts that somebody else gave us from their educational point of view or lack of educational point of view. And sociology, because we're talking about our social norms, which the other brothers already spoke on. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make it plain as to how we communicate words that we use to define ourselves, as well as our social values, both back to our values as to how do we see ourselves, how do we define ourselves. So we're going to talk about a mindset. You can look at maybe 40 years ago or 50 years ago, how we looked at our mothers and our fathers, how we respected them. Today, it's rare that you even see that, that kind of unity as a family. You know what I'm saying? And the respective individuals in the family understanding their purpose. You can see with other nations of people, but when it comes to African descendants, you know what I'm saying? We still suffering from the psychology we have adopted from other people. We don't have our own social norms. We don't, we adopt other people's stuff from around the world that don't mean us no good, period. You know what I'm saying? Until we,
Very good.
the brother talked about, and the other brother talked about, until we make it our own. You know what I'm saying? We have to go back to the ways of our ancestors, the thoughts of our mothers and our fathers. We don't honor our mothers and our fathers. You know what I'm saying? And it's quick. People in your own family tell, I ain't listening to that. I don't want to hear that.
Why would you say we don't honor our mothers and fathers? From the perspective you were speaking.
How we talk to each other, when we communicate.
That's good.
How we communicate with each other. When you look at people that's really from Africa, they represent their family. That name means something. A lot of these names don't mean anything to people anymore. You know what I'm saying? A name is everything because it tells you about your character and your conduct.
Yes.
Yeah, and it tells you where you come from. You know what I'm saying? And like today, to say that you just being spiritual. I'm not this and I'm not that. They don't know what they are. You know what I'm saying? Because they never had the knowledge of themselves. You know what I'm saying? When they know the knowledge of themselves, then you're going to know your creator. You just didn't get here by accident. You didn't come from a monkey. That's somebody else's story. Let them have their story. That's their story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Learn to know what your place in the universe is. You don't know your own force and power within yourself. So they don't want to hear that. They caught up on materialistic stuff. You know what I'm saying? When it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all else will be added unto you. What does that mean? Chinese call heaven God. You know what I'm saying? But they don't see themselves as God. They don't see themselves as God-like. They don't see themselves as rulers, whether they're male or female. They don't see themselves as that, so they don't feel like they got to conduct themselves like that. You know what I'm saying? So
That's right.
and it goes back to them not knowing themselves. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because, you know, we spoke about that last week about what was above the doorways of the universities. They don't see themselves as building universities. They don't see themselves as giving back. You know what I'm saying? Until
Right.
they in them lines where they got to go get some food. They got to feed their family. You know what I'm saying? Then it's a different story. You know what I'm saying? When you don't realize your extended family.
Brother Dwayne, you want to comment on that from a clinical perspective?
This is going to be unpopular, but I think history aside, um, because one, not all brown pigmented individuals came from Africa.
That's
We
right.
don't talk about.
That's right.
We don't talk about the fact
right.
that we have traveled from the entire globe.
That's
Some
right.
of us were actually born on this land.
That's
That's
right.
right.
But that aside,
That's right.
we have always had a sense of richness of culture,
Right.
family,
Right.
and everything that entails. But somewhere down the line, we bought into a different narrative that we weren't enough. So we needed to do something different in order for our children and the generations thereafter to be assimilated in order to make a difference.
Mhm.
That's where I believe the disconnect has come in.
Okay.
We have become a disservice to ourselves
That's right.
by giving up our culture, giving up our heritage, giving up those things that have made us the people who we have always been, regardless of how we got here.
Ishmael,
What was the question that you had
In
before?
regards to
Yeah, in regards to the mindset before after we gave our
Yeah.
definition, you had before the brother McLean Bay broke down his understanding of it.
Go ahead.
I did want to expound
Yeah.
yes, please.
where our heritage being located in the North America,
That's
the
right.
North Americas,
That's
right? We have to always try to find the root cause, and I always like to refer to the question why as being a curriculum in itself.
That's right.
That's good.
If you ask the question why, it'll take you on a journey.
Right.
You know, and if you notice, most psychologists always start sessions with asking questions.
That's right.
Right.
Mhm.
So we know etymology, the root of words.
That's
So
right.
we look at question as a quest. You're on a quest when you're asking a question.
Mhm.
So we know we have to admit that we are
That's
on a
good.
quest,
Mhm.
and to look for some
The
some
truth.
truth.
Yes.
And okay, so I came across a fun fact. Cross notes out there. The first World War One, I didn't know to recently that it was like 200 some years. This continent was attacked by 7 different countries.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So we had something here that was going on, before that they wanted.
Mhm.
You know, 7 different countries. Russia took over Alaska, they say. Spain took over. What's that area? Maybe the West Coast. French took over Louisiana.
know.
Italians took over something. Some other countries took over something, right? They
Right.
subdued us.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And that was for a reason, right?
Mhm.
So when they start calling you slave, 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 okay, some are, but a lot of us are POWs.
I like that.
And POWs, we don't have no laws, no
prisoners of
government.
war.
We're just prisoners
That's right.
of war.
Mhm.
So if you got this type of culture, they are
Mhm.
trying to constantly erase us from. You get
From
what I'm saying?
history, yeah.
Thank God for our ancestors who did carve stone to show us where to go, where to lead back to who to recognize our face, ourselves.
Writings on the wall.
Writings on
Yeah.
the wall.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what we dealing with. We dealing with the mindset of a POW, man. And that's why it's hard for me to cry when I see us get beat on TV because we just lacking our laws.
Robin, do you want to chime in on anything, or Ishmael, was you trying to get back to the initial question of, what is mindset?
Well, the sister had a question right after that. After we,
Yeah,
uh,
I asked actually I had asked about mindsets. Do I actually kind of forget it? I would have to go back in my notes to ask. Well, let's go a little further and let's talk about a mindset of scarcity. Do you find that's happening with our people as a culture today? Because I'm listening to everyone speak on how they, whoever it may be, has created an agenda
Mm-hmm.
to actually influence or manipulate our mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that that's from a point of dominance. I always talk about
Right.
the first thing the Bible said is to be is to subdue
Subdue.
and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have the mindset that you are to subdue and conquer, and then you strip a person of that mindset when you make them a slave, and you keep your, as y'all say, y'all foot on, keep your system
On
keeps
the
your foot on
neck.
the neck.
Mm-hmm.
It gives mindsets of survival, mindsets of scarcity. But I want to
That's
elaborate on scarcity because I think that's running rapid in a lot of the communities.
Yeah, we never
Fear
talk
of
about
scarcity.
scarcity,
Yeah. So anybody want to elaborate on a mindset of scarcity?
which is really the lack thereof.
The opposite of
scarcity.
abundance.
Yes, I would pretty much say so. Dwayne.
I knew you was coming to.
I
I knew it.
mean, I got to pass, but you the open man. You know what I'm saying?
Again, not gonna be popular, but I have an issue with the whole mindset of scarcity
Mm-hmm.
because it's a symptom, but it is not the root.
Okay.
And part of the reason it's a symptom is because sometimes we don't take the extra effort to understand.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to understand.
Right.
Sometimes we take the status quo at what it is
Mm-hmm.
and settle there instead of saying, wait, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. There is something beyond this. I don't know what it is. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know that it is. So I should at least put forth some action.
Right.
That is the problem.
Okay.
Oftentimes we don't put forth action.
Mm-hmm.
And so we settle into the mindset of scarcity. But that is a symptom of the root.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we put in action? That question came from the depths.
That's good.
Yeah. Why would you say?
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear. Fear from us moving beyond our comfort zone. Fear of what other people are going to think about us. Fear of not knowing how to move. And sometimes fear of your own success.
Mm.
I think it's safe to say everyone in this room knows that we are destined for greatness. But I think it's also safe to say that everyone in this room, because of that knowledge, has procrastinated, has not followed through, has not stepped up to where we needed to step up at some particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
And
think?
that's across the board.
Excuse me for cutting you off. Do you
That's
think
good.
self-sabotaging is a mindset?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of a lot of the voices that we hear, it's our people are our right hands, if you will, that always, girl, you ain't supposed to be doing that, da 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 da. We need to push that to the side and focus on the overall objective.
Sabotage is heavy.
Yes, it
I think
is.
It's programmed into us.
Self-sabotage is heavy.
Self-sabotage. And all around universal sabotaging is happening. The Matrix is one of my top three movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks on how they program people to the point where they don't even have to do the work. People become the agents and start sabotaging.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it goes deep.
It goes
Mhm.
back to the psychology.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? We've been taught to hate each other.
Oh,
You know,
man.
we don't see each other.
That's a
as
whole
great.
nother topic.
And
You ain't lying.
until you see yourself as being great and you look at other people as being great, or you know the potential, you know. When we look at an atom,
Mm-hmm.
a molecule, whatever, you should be able to see their greatness. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
when you look at a seed and we plant a seed into the earth, you know what I'm saying? The potential of that seed.
We expect
It
greatness.
gives you these analogies
I like that.
as to number one, you say for this little bit of seed, the
Mhm.
tomatoes came from this little bitty seed. And when
Right.
children see that, when you explain that to them, for them to be able to reason, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how I think with parents or teachers' jobs are, is to be able to, and that's the true heritage that you spoke about, that you're supposed to be passing down or giving it to them, so then for them to be able to figure it out for themselves. We've been allowed somebody else to do our critical thinking and mathematical reasoning for us.
And I like
You
that
know
you
what I'm
say
saying?
that because the heritage of God is math and science.
You know?
That's the language of the Most High. He
Mhm.
uses math and science to show us, to show and prove who we are, right? And we, like you said, fear, hate. Those are two of the 7 evils. You know what I mean? So when we start dealing with the evils, we know that's the language that restricts the will,
You know,
the God's will.
but when we go to
Mhm.
talking about thought is activate everything,
Yes, sir.
whether it's negative or positive, how somebody embrace you, how somebody greet you. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the other culture,
How about desire though?
your
Mhm.
desire.
The
Desire
desire
is the
influences
cause
the
of
thought.
it. Yeah, the desire of something causes everything.
Mhm.
And what is your purpose behind it?
Yeah.
The purpose behind your thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, people have many different purposes, but do they really truly understand their purpose?
And we get into a solution just speaking like that because who influences our desires at this point? You know what I mean? The psychology, right? So they use the matrix again. So they use TV programs to
And
get in our psyche.
they admitted to the subliminal suggestions they give people. You know, like I can look at some food and I get hungry looking at some food because, you know,
The
and people
desire is there.
Yeah.
it's a desire to, hold on, that food look good.
I'm
When you
thinking how I'm
smell
gonna
it,
get to it.
yeah, I got the ham.
But in some particular,
Can you move your computer, baby, and put your mic?
Shh, you can't do that during podcast. Can't do that in the podcast.
Like,
Can't do it.
they can't hear me.
Can't do that. No, yes, they can.
So desire allows one to really strive for something. You know, if you ain't got no desire for it, you just gonna be to the side. But if you desire something, you're gonna go after it.
Yes.
So I like what y'all said about the desire, you know, because a lot of us don't have the desire or the with that oomph in us to go get it. You know, once we get that oomph in us, whether it's, you know, deep down inside you, and it's got to be like here, you know, until it get here, you ain't really gonna strive for it or really want it like you should until you got that, you know, like I got it, like you said, I gotta eat. So you're gonna do whatever it is to eat.
So is it safe to say desire comes before thought, and then after thought comes action? Is it an order? Because we can't nothing go in emotion if we don't have order.
It's always an order, but I would have to table that. I'm gonna let one of them answer that.
why you looking at me?
From the professional.
Right. You know, we
Well, yes, there is an order, and the order has to be. That's like planting. Well, using your analogy earlier about planting the seed. When you say, "Okay, I want fresh strawberries this summer," you have to first say, "I want fresh strawberries." Going back to what you're saying, asking yourself why you want. Okay, you want fresh strawberries. Now you have to make the plan to go get the things you need. But if you don't know how to do that, what you have to do, you have to research it. This computer right here, global, you can find anything you want on this computer. It's with us 24/7. There's no reason you cannot find what it is that you need. So once you have did your research, once you have gathered your things, then you have to plan. Okay, I can't do it today. I got this on my agenda. When do I have the free time to do it? Then you put that in place, and then whatever those additional steps after it.
I think one of the and it's great dialogue, guys, when it comes to mindset. But I think one of the I'm not gonna think, I'm gonna tell you, like one of the things that our system that's dominating right now. One of the number one things they do is use media. they understand the psychological importance of getting into people's mindsets. You have commercials, you have advertising, you have platforms. They whole stem of things is to make sure they constantly feeding the mindset, because if they can feed the mindsets, then they can keep accomplishing the goals they want to accomplish. What do you guys think about what I just said, Ishmael?
I absolutely agree. And the topic of the podcast was mindsets, the key to overcoming obstacles and achieving success, right? And we started off with the meaning of mindset. I said the meaning of mindset is an individual's frame of mind that positions them into a particular set of expectations or associations. Now, when we were speaking on it, you brought up how fear could cause a person to not do certain things, and you were speaking on how a person have to believe in themselves. They have to understand where they come from and who they are and what they're capable of. So now we speaking on the mindset, but we speaking on it in two different aspects. You speaking on it when you say spirit, you speaking on the person with a fixed mindset. When you speak on it, you speak on a person with a growth mindset. You understand? So, but at the end of the day, when you speak about our mindsets, you look at our condition as a people. Look at us as a people, as individuals. What got us here? Whatever we doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Why are we here? Why are we in this position right now? Where do we want to be? It all originates in the type of frame of mind that you have.
Most definitely.
You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So, but now you have to look and see. It's first start with self-awareness. You got to look and see if you have a fixed mindset or growth mindset. You have to know the difference as well. You know what I'm saying?
I'm dancing with you.
Okay.
Dancing with you. So piggyback from that, we keep using fixed and set. And I'm looking at this table, right? So coming from Detroit, we got a mindset, a blue collar mindset, an assembly line mindset, right? We start, I don't got to speak about the streets and how we put them puzzles together, right? But look at this table, right?
Come on.
Somebody had to pour a mold in. A molding was poured. You get what I'm saying? And it set this table. And now this table gonna be a table for the duration until it's not. So the duration of its time. And we can't break this until it's broke. So we gotta break the minds the way we was set to
That's
be.
good.
You get what I'm saying? That's it. If we can break the way we were set to be and remold it back to the Bruce Lee, that'd be like water.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Formless.
Reformless, because right now they got us in this certain mindset where this is just who we are. We didn't adopt it. Now I'm niggas.
And if just for
the real our purpose no more.
It was done in the science. It got to be undone in the science.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Until we understand, the force and power of our thoughts, you know what I'm saying? As Brother Ishmael was pointing out, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about the two different things as to negative thinking and positive thinking, just make it simple. You know what I'm saying? Understanding certain things that's infinite, certain things that are limited. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to adopt a limited point of view coming from somebody else, or are you going to depend on your internal divine abilities in which you have inalienable rights that you know that you are capable of doing anything? You know what I'm saying? So we go to talk about,
right.
Are you around people? Are you around your parents or your loved ones, that's pushing you to do the right thing, to show you your potential? Are you around people, man, that's going to take you to that next level? You know what I'm saying? It's a journey. You talked about the quest. You know what I'm saying? We're on a spiritual journey, having a physical experience. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, is not making it at this time. Everybody, I remember I read a book called Dante's Inferno, Going Through Purgatory. Basically like going through purgatory, hell. We don't think we should have to suffer. You know what I'm saying? We're looking for an easy way out or whatever.
Right.
Some people just threw their hands up. Apparently, the people up in here didn't throw their hands up, and they know that they're gonna
They
suffer.
play that
But they
victim
do-
role.
Right.
They know that they're gonna be helping somebody else along the way.
And just for the record, I just wanted to explain what fixed and growth mindset is. Fixed mindset is basically, things just you believe that things have to be as they are. Growth mindset is that you're open for new things.
Right.
You're willing to expand beyond where you're already at.
But
So I
also,
just want
when you
okay.
talk about when you talk about fixed mindset, a person with a
Mhm.
fixed mindset, they always focus on like the outcome of things. So
Right.
it's like when you deciding to do something,
Mm-hmm.
you always think about, well, what's the outcome gonna be? Am I gonna be able to get
Right.
this money, or am I gonna be able to do this? Because if I'm not gonna be able to do this, it's a waste of
That's
time. So I
time,
ain't
right.
gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And now you ain't really, instead of having that growth mindset to where,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna take the
Mhm.
risk.
Yes.
I'm gonna take the risk. I
Mhm.
don't know what it's gonna bring, but I know that I'm gonna take this risk. And even if I don't achieve
At least
this
you
particular
try.
outcome, I learned something.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Embracing the
saying?
Most
journey.
definitely.
I'm
Yeah.
embracing the journey.
I love that. Embrace
You know
the
what I'm saying?
journey.
So when you think about them two different mindsets, individuals, you could tell. Like you could tell a person with a fixed mindset to where they not really doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because of fear, self-sabotaging.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, it's all come from us coming from where we came from. We was programmed a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's programmed with them
Yeah.
isms.
Right.
Material,
Yeah.
visualism,
Exactly.
Mhm.
So
executism.
And that's
right.
that identity
Right.
crisis.
Yeah,
And then you
that's
got
what
the
we-
ones with
Yeah.
the growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
sometimes they looked at as, as weird, or they looked at because they ambitious.
Back to
You
what
feel me?
back to
Or
what Robbie said about the media.
Mhm.
The media put the people that are in let's say
the fixed
group that-
mindset.
the fixed
Yeah.
mindset. They
Mhm.
put them out front. They put them on TV.
Yeah, because they want us to stay stuck in that
Yeah.
same spot instead of
Exactly.
advancing.
Yeah, they
I
want
like
you to
that.
stay stuck in that
Most
illusion
definitely.
and not go internal.
Mhm.
Keep looking outside
I'm gonna
yourself.
put this certain type of music on
Yeah.
the airways so you could continuously listen to this every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Straight
Right.
knowledge.
You ever heard of the saying? The brother used to tell me all the time. Repetitions brings about retention.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
means
make you
that
stay
if
in the
you-
same place.
If you repeat something over and over and over and over again, it
Mhm.
gets to the point to where it's like second nature.
Right.
It becomes a part of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So think about the music that we listen to every day, over and over. Our children, they
Mm-hmm.
listening to rob, shoot, kill, steal
Mm-hmm.
every single day, over, over, over,
This
over,
the first
over,
pro.
over,
This the
over.
first computer.
Yeah.
So if we constantly downloading that, you get what
You see what I'm saying? So-
Music is because, not to cut you off on great, I just want to say this. Music is because it's what catches us and leave us there. It's like that song that you had, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Let me use that. It's a good saying, but who wanted to really keep saying that song? But we know it. Bobby McFerrin is forever etched in our minds but it's a good saying. Don't worry, be happy. Right. It's downloaded. So yeah, I most definitely agree.
The universe is made up of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go to talking about certain rhythms and frequencies, you know what I'm saying, we have to be able to look at, how does that help us? You know what I'm saying? Because, Ishmael spoke about the negative energy that people give off, and they think it's popular now to, shoot, kill each other, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear the love songs, whatever. That's the most
Right.
selling records is love songs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, we often talk about how much we love each other, but how much we care about each other. Where is our culture at dealing with that? So, like, when they go to talking about, I'm let you get the mic at this here, bridging the gap about children and parents and things that it's a tie between parents and child when you really raising up your children.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There is no, you can relate to them because you were that age.
That's who
You know what
first
I'm
give the
saying?
mindset.
Yeah,
First who brainwash
yeah.
the mindset.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to talking about
Yeah.
children, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, and their closeness with their parents and their family, you really do take a whole village to raise a child for real. Because when you know that's my uncle, it's my relative, this is a certain way you're gonna conduct yourself, A certain way you do what you do, you're supposed to be taking it higher. I had read a book one time. It's called Swimming with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. And this guy was from Minnesota and he went to Japan. You got to understand they're family oriented. A lot of these nations that you see, whether they're Arabs, Chaldeans, whatever, they all family oriented. The Japanese, the Chinese, they all family oriented. They form themselves community. You know what I'm saying? They understand their culture, go back to culture and heritage, and goes back to psychology and sociology. You know, and he asked the man, he said, and he's a tycoon. He said, how far is your plans in the future? He said 250 years. He said if he didn't know no better, he was just thought the man was just telling a lie. But understand, he said, how do you plan on getting it? He said, determination. You know what I'm saying? We have to have that self-determination to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. You know what I'm saying? We allow certain things to go on in our neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what we accept from somebody else. You can't survive, you know what I'm saying? If you look at how much money we spend, trillions of dollars, it don't even bounce in our neighborhood. I'm not going to spend my money with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I don't like you. No apparent reason. I don't need you to like me. I need you to love me enough to be able to help.
Speaking of love,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say we have a young man in the house that's on our podcast, A1, and as a young man, as a senior, and we're dealing with the mindset. What would you say the youth of today is saying with a mindset? I would say this to you: are the youth of the day walking around oblivious with an oblivious mindset?
Yeah, I say 9 times out of 10 they do, but like I said, it really depends on your background and what type of family you grew from. It really depends on the background of your family and where you came from and where you was raised. But yeah, some of the youth, most of them have a wonderful, great mindset with great ideas and everything, but in our generation, our generation is really messed up at the same time because the youth nowadays got their priorities wrong. They're worried about the wrong. They're worried about the wrong things. They're worrying about what others think about them, and they're worried about what this guy's gonna say and what this girl's gonna say. So I say it really depends on the personality of the youth, but 9 times out of 10, the youth in our generation have a potential and having they have a potential of having a great mindset that's going to take them down the road and take them down to a good road. But yeah, no,
They don't know how to get there.
Huh?
You think they don't know how to get to
They
that good
don't.
road?
Yeah, they don't have. Most of them don't have guidance. That's
Okay,
what most youth look for. Guidance. They don't have no guidance or have no parents.
That's right.
So how can you give youth guidance if in this gap they don't listen, or they make fun or think everything is funny that the elders is giving?
Like I said, it really depends on the youth. Some of it depends if they wanna go down the right path or they wanna just follow their friends and what their friends say, and what society is based off nowadays.
I want to tell this story. Well, it's not really like a story. I was watching this show. Now I brought up the show before on this podcast, the show Yellowstone, right? And I'm gonna answer your question as far as how when it comes, because it is a gap now between the elders and the youth to where we done fell off track.
that gap was written about too.
Yeah.
Scripture.
So in the show Yellowstone, if anybody watch Yellowstone or are familiar with the show Yellowstone, it's about a man who has this land in Montana. He has a great amount of the land to the point to where people, the government, the very government, the country is coming and they trying to take the land from him because he don't really believe in like the evolution and of society and things like that.
Right.
He's sticking to his principles. He's sticking to his morals. He's sticking to
He's
the
in that
codes
fixed
of his
mindset.
fathers. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And how important it is with the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's another show called 1883 and 1923. That's like off series of the show.
Spinoffs, okay.
Yeah, it's a
Gotcha.
spinoffs.
Right.
So but they talk about how his family came into the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now in the show 1883, his great grandfather come over. It tells the story how his great grandfather came into the land. His great grandfather came upon the land because it was given to him by an Indian,
Mm-hmm.
right? They went through hell. They went through hell to get to that part of Montana, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where his daughter was dying.
Mm-hmm.
Right, man. His daughter was dying. So he wanted to, it was no saving her. She was gonna die. So he was looking for a place to bury her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Indian that owned the land that they had came on, he was like, you could bury her over there. He was like, basically, matter of fact, you can have that part of that, you can have that land over there. He was like, I used to hunt over there. He was telling them about the land and everything. He telling this to the white man because they came all the way over here and he understood what they went through to get here. So the Indian telling him like, y'all can have that land over there. You can have that part of the land over there, right? But this is what he said. He said, you can have that land over there. Now remember, this is 1883. He said, but in seven generations, my people is going to come back and take the land.
Mm-hmm.
This the Indian. He told him that. He
Heavy.
said in 7 generations,
Heavy.
my people is going to come back and get that land back from you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the white man said, no problem. That's cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Yellowstone, going all the way up, John Dutton, he's going through all type of stuff to keep this land, but he's fighting all these people that's coming to take it from him. One of the people that end up coming to take the land from him is the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deep, right? Because you think about how did that Indian know? And he said 7 generations. How did he know that his people was going to come back and get that land back? Right? I said he knew because he knew as an elder, right? And as one who was considered the patriarch of his people, his responsibility and what he was going to do, to where he could see where his
Down the
people
road.
would be down
That's
the road
good.
in the future, right?
That's right.
So this is what he would do. He like, I'm just all I got to do is educate and continue to teach my
That's right.
people the
That's right.
value
Right.
of who we are in our land, to where it's gonna pass through our generations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna keep certain stuff out of. I know what to keep away from them, and I know what to put in them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
And it's deep because it was
That's
like
right.
he was so. His mindset was so strong, so where nothing could penetrate it, nothing
right.
from the outside. For what's going on outside of that,
Right.
it couldn't penetrate it. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing real can be threatened.
It could not penetrate it. Nothing is going to tempt us. Nothing is going to distract us. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure they understand the importance of this land. I'm gonna make sure they understand the importance and value of our heritage and everything like that. Right? With us as a people, that gap it grew and it came about because we stopped teaching and we stopped educating on the importance and value of us as a people. But
That's
the
right.
reason why
That's
we
right.
did it is because we got distracted.
That's right.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We got distracted and we got tempted from the society that we live in, from what was going on outside of, you know what I'm saying, the environment that we come from. So it's like, I'm gonna teach my son to be a better man than me. But hold on, we got this going on over here, popping off over here. This liquor, this drugs, this money, get money and all that. You know what I'm saying?
The distractions.
Right, distractions.
To answer your question, how did he know? You go back to what the brother said too. The last name. We don't look at
That's good.
the honor of like then there 75% of America is all named after Indian tribes. Montana,
That's right.
Chicago,
The state.
the states itself, Indiana,
Right.
This was they
Michigan,
said before.
Right.
Florida.
Right.
It's all tribal names. So as long as that tribal name stand there, they know what to connect to. They
Right.
really paying rent to them. You get
Come
what
on.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you start looking at now we know what to follow. See, they want us disconnected from that.
Right.
Y'all don't follow that. Y'all don't know nothing about that. No, that's what you follow. Follow the name. The name gonna get you home. That's what's golden.
That's it.
You get what I'm saying? Your heritage is locked in the
Mhm.
words, man.
In conjunction with what everybody already said, when you hear other people speak about their ancestors, they tell you, "I'm the son of,"
That's right.
and they tell about their mother and their father
Right.
because of their name.
That's right.
A name means everything. Words
it
mean
does.
everything. You know,
Mhm.
somebody call you a derogatory name, you gonna feel a certain way about that. But the person say, "Yeah, that's my loved one right there." You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
It's a different vibration.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? When you go to talking about the purpose of this land and how we cultivate this land, the heart, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that.
Yes.
You know, the ingredients that went into a cake. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about your relatives and say, "Hold on, that's one of mine right there." It's all together different story. Because they know your character and their conduct. That's Ishmael's children.
And the thing
That's
is,
family right there. And, you know, you already know how we get out.
And
the name will open the door for you.
we have some strong brothers in here that's giving us great food. I would say meat. Changing it to giving it to milk for those that have oblivious
babies.
mindsets, or to the babies.
Yes.
Let's bring what you're saying home to where they can understand and they could know what you mean when we're talking about mindsets and how our mindsets need to be refreshing or renewed or rejuvenated, because at the point we are now, our mindsets have got us to where we are now. So what are we saying to the young people when it comes to mindsets? Give it to us as a fifth grader.
Stop thinking your history is a slave history. Stop that. That's one of the number one lies. Make
Good.
You came from slavery.
Mhm.
We came from empires.
That's right.
We came
That's right.
from tribal
Mhm.
greatness.
We build pyramids.
We built stuff. We are the first
Mhm.
doctors. We are the first
Mathematicians,
architects, mathematicians,
lawyers.
That's the real,
Yes.
that's the real backstory. Backstories can be changed.
I think the real
That's
simplest
very
thing
good.
to do is we have to learn to love ourselves
Mhm.
and stop hating ourselves. We have to learn how to communicate and talk to each other like we got plenty of sense with the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? And this was dysfunction about the family, period, is that people don't put forth that energy that they should. You know, they don't want to work hard for rebuilding the family or
Don't have
restoring the
time.
family. You know what I'm saying? You know, to what discipline really is, not whooping a child, but educating that child to be able to correct themselves.
Ishmael.
Generational wealth.
Mhm.
Right? It's about providing and giving our children something for when we no longer here and
That's right.
going forth, right?
Right.
The sister spoke about it.
Mhm.
A baby first teacher is who? The mother.
The mother and father.
Parents,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You ever pay attention to one of the things that my child only 4 months years old, but it be so much that I be learning from him to
Mhm.
where like he just so happy and innocent.
Yes. Yes.
Like he have no care in the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He don't think about getting put out the house tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Or
That is
I ain't gonna
remotely
have
from
this,
it.
or I
Yeah.
ain't gonna have no. He just it's something about a child's mind. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That you ever watch a child play?
Mhm.
Like their imagination, they
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
they can do anything
That's
in the
right.
world, right?
Right.
Anything. They believe they super. I could do this. I could do that. Their imagination is crazy,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
As a parent,
Mhm.
right? Because we're talking about how to close that gap, right? We're trying to get
Mhm.
back on track. We're trying to produce that growth mindset, right? The children already have the growth mindset. If they feel like they can do any and everything in the world,
Yes.
they don't have no fear, right?
Right.
Us as a parent, we gotta feed that. We gotta
Cultivate it.
cultivate
Yeah.
that. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Guard
Mhm.
them. You gotta-
And God, in one of the good books that he had done written, he says that in order to come to him, you must come to him
You
as
know,
a
as a
child.
child.
So you
Yes.
have to keep that mindset that
Meaning
the
that you
child,
have
like
no fear.
anything is
Mhm.
possible.
Anything.
Yeah.
is
God
possible.
has me.
That's
I don't
good.
think
All those
about the
things.
outcomes. I
Mhm.
don't
Yes.
think about, oh man, see, I could go over here and do that, but
And that's
what if I
true.
don't? What if I don't succeed? What if I don't? You know what I'm saying? We don't.
Children don't think about none of that.
They don't think
They
about
don't think about the
consequence.
Right.
outcome.
And that truth goes on the just and the unjust. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
be about. That's just a universal
Principle.
truth.
Principle,
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
They
Mhm.
think about just I'm doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes to me as a parent, I try to be that. I know that, right?
Mhm.
I understand.
Yes.
So when I see them in that situation, whether it's my children or not my children, man, when I see them in them situations, because I'm always teaching my children, listen, don't. Why you want to rush to grow up?
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
You wanna
right.
jump in relationships, or you want to do you want to grow
That's
up too
good.
fast, man. Enjoy your
Mhm.
childhood.
Yeah.
Enjoy the innocence and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
You
Learn
ask,
as much as
you
you
ask
can.
them the question why.
Right. You see
You-
what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Because what's feeding that desire?
Your adversary, social media.
Our environment.
Yeah.
We getting distracted.
Mhm.
We losing. You know what I'm saying? They
Our
getting
friends,
distracted.
our homies, you know,
Feel me?
everybody that we're around,
Right.
So
you
what
know,
is,
influence that.
It's a collective mindset, and it's creating a reality for our next generation.
yeah.
Every time we only got really from conception to 7. You get what I'm saying?
Right, right.
To
The
help
developmental years.
developmental. You get what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
if we distracted, they got them. TV got them.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Something
Mhm.
else gonna get them. We only got from today 7, and then we got to wait for the next set. You get what I'm saying? Because we can't really teach adults.
Right.
But that is that's the biggest misconception that we have internalized, and then we put it back into our social identity. Yes,
Mhm.
concept to 7, those are the foundational fundamental years that pretty much set a person in motion as to who they're going to become.
Mhm.
However, each one of us is a walking testimony that life will happen to you, but you make the mindset when you have people inject themselves into your life, whether intentionally or unintentionally,
Mhm.
and they start pouring life into you,
Mhm.
then you shift.
Mhm.
It's one thing
That's
when we
good.
talk about the babies,
Mhm.
love it. But going back to when we were talking about the youth of today, the youth of today are starving for attention.
That's right, indeed.
And so, yes, they're turning to entertainment. Yes, they're turning to social media because the attention that they see is,
Mhm.
oh, if I do this, I get this many likes. If I
Mhm.
do this, I get fame. If I do this, people gonna like me. How many times do we say, "Hey, that's not
Not
how
who
you're
you right.
supposed to be"?
Mhm.
My godson, when my godson came into my life, he was 18. When my godson came into my custody, he was 23. I literally didn't undo from birth to 23. I
Mhm.
just shifted the mindset.
That's good.
Hey, this is not who you are.
Mhm.
You are intelligent, you are smart, and you
Mhm.
have plenty of opportunities and capabilities to be whatever you want to be.
You just
I
got to
didn't
apply
browbeat,
yourself.
I didn't try to
Mhm.
erase. It was, this is who you are. And
Right.
then I allowed him to fold into that.
Okay, that's
That's
good.
what we have to do, with the understanding that we're not going to get 100%.
Okay.
No, but
Let's hear from
that's
Doctor.
very
Let's hear
good.
from Doctor in the house. She has Dr. Lisa over there. Let's hear from her.
I'm not going to say much. I just wanted to say structure and order. And basically, he's really talking about it. A lot of people don't know their true identity. And so it starts as a child. And you know, this could go so many different ways because some people don't have parents, but there's always teachable people in the world. You always around somebody that can teach you something, you
Mhm.
know.
That's good.
I think we use too many excuses.
Mhm.
Teach.
When we get
Victim
older,
mentality.
we talk
Yeah.
a lot about well, slavery is a big one because people always want to talk about we was in slavery. We was never in slavery. We wasn't in slavery. Our forefathers was in slavery. And yes, things happened to them, but it didn't happen to us. And a lot of people, we stood on the shoulders of a lot of people that paved the way for us to have a lot of freedom
Mhm.
in things that we do, but we don't take the opportunity to do them. And we always want to blame. It's the blame game. So
Mhm.
it starts with structure and order in the household. And we got a lot of knuckleheads. Yep, that's what I call them, knuckleheads, because they don't want to listen. They got a hard head. They don't, you know, you can't penetrate through a knucklehead, you know. And these young kids think they know everything, and they don't think we know nothing. They don't want to be told. They're the show me children. You got to show them. They need you to show them. They need you to show them, not tell them. And we do a lot of talking, but we don't do a lot of action behind our talking. And then we do a lot of don't do as I do, but do as I say type of things. And some of the things that we doing, we shouldn't be doing, but we telling them to do the opposite, but we're planting bad seeds from the beginning. So we have to do better in parenting. And sometimes parenting is just not your own kids, because some people don't have kids. Sometimes it's helping somebody else's kids that you might need
That's
to
right.
mentor or parent. And we used to do that, see, back in the 70s and the 60s, you know, in the 50s. They used to do that. The neighborhoods, everybody knew who you was. They knew who child you was, who you belonged to. Because as a community, we thrived more together. We cared about each other. We didn't have a lot, but we worked with what we had. And now everybody has kind of been separated and moved apart into different areas. And then one of the things that bother me, talking about mindset, because it's your set mind, is once people make it out, they never go back to help where they come from. They forget where they come from once they make it out. Well, how do you expect for these younger people to come along and to have the guidance when you're not giving it to them? Where they gonna get it from?
You know that happened with Joseph. You know, the cook and the baker. They said one thing, but they did something totally opposite instead of, you know.
Yes, I want to say, expound on Sister said and go a little deeper. I know as a youth, and I know A1 can probably comment on, as a youth, when I was coming up, I didn't want to hear nothing about what Sister was saying about the old times and what my mama used to say and used to do. I wasn't trying to hear none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I just like, I would tune out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, we living now. I ain't trying to hear what happened.
Yeah.
What you say,
like
one?
we're not living back in your days.
Yeah. So
society.
Go ahead, expound. Go ahead.
Yeah, I get what she's trying to say, especially like when the parents say, "Oh, back in my day, our mama used to do this and this and this and that." We're not trying to hear that. We talking about right now and what you are going to give us to learn. What you learned from your parents is what you got to carry on to your kids and teach them. Whether it's staying away from the negative and being a part of the positive. Like I said, you're not trying to hear it.
Are you saying you're not trying to hear it being the mindset of most of the youth, or are you putting that positive as the way it's supposed to be?
That's how it's supposed to be, because you know how like I can like, for example, like I said, your mom would say like, I
used to work 5 miles this way and that way back to school. How's that helping me now?
That ain't helping me now. It's not motivating me. I get it. You went through a difficult and you struggled and everything, but like, it's a different society right now. We're talking about right now. We're not back in your days. Yeah, you used to walk 3 miles, 4 miles to school. Now we got buses, we got transportation, we got Uber. We're not trying to hear that.
But that rhetoric has been around forever.
Right.
The youth generation think that they know everything because they got whatever that technology is. But that rhetoric when I was your age, I wish my mama like, listen, I ain't trying to listen to you. But the difference was, and going back to what Dr. Lisa was talking about when we were talking about community, her love was, I don't care what you want. I'm going to tell you this anyway. And I'm going to keep telling you over and over and over and over again. The thing when we talk about a seed, regardless of what a seed is only this big. It's literally nothing.
Right.
But when it's planted and it's watered continuously, it starts to sprout. And the sprouts spread. and they multiply. And then those sprouts become roots that even under the dirt, you may not see it germinating, but when the time is right, it comes up and it comes out and it makes itself known that, hey,
Yeah.
this is here.
Yeah.
I'm here. What you need is here.
Yeah.
I-
Let's expound a little bit on
let me
let's
just
expound a
say
little bit
this real
more.
quick.
Let's expound a little more on the
Okay.
victim mentality, because we have that running rampant. We have and with single moms, single fathers, with children without parents guiding them in group homes, and runaways, with people that have a it's about me and my mindset. What is let's talk about the victim mentality, because we as a people, through trauma, I deal with a lot of young people and women, and they take on a victim mentality. They really like live that. What would we say about the victim mentality?
It's easy. It doesn't require anything, but just to say, oh,
Mhm.
this happened.
Mhm.
Oh, Trump. Oh, slavery. It's easy.
Yeah, what is the victim mentality?
Scapegoating. That's the simplest.
Passing the
So
buck.
making an excuse or scapegoating someone else for what is going on or where you are, versus you taking self responsibility.
It's not
Basically
deeper than
taking the
that?
easy way
Deeper
out.
than that.
You said make it easy. Like,
But I mean, you know, it's another virgin layers to it. I read this book that weighs heavy on me to answer that question. Victim mentality is one of the 4 personalities that humans use to pull energy from other humans. You know what I'm saying? Because we all need energy, right? We talked about energy. So
That's good.
being where we from, especially in the city, we in this concrete jungle. Our shoes and socks is in between the dirt, and then we got the concrete. You get what I'm saying? So we don't get the energy, especially from the sun. We don't get the energy we need. So we become vampires. I'm trying to pull energy from you by being a victim, by being what they call
Energy stealers.
energy stealers. So
Mhm.
so you got an integrator, you got an intimidator, you got the poor me, and then you got the aloof.
Mhm.
Babies are aloof. That's why we be so
Right.
amazed with them. They don't even got
Right.
one care in
In
the
the
world.
world.
You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So the victim mentality is one of them personalities that's used to pull
Mhm.
energy from other people so they can charge up like a battery.
Is it a positive thing or a negative thing?
Definitely
Negative.
because it's not returning. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying? Energy is supposed to go in a circle.
Somebody
You know what I'm
stealing your energy, it drains you.
Yeah. You get what I'm
It-
saying?
isn't
That's
it
why you
big-
gotta go
Mhm.
read to go replace it. You
But
know what
I,
I'm saying? Or you gotta go ground and get some sun, or you feel drained. You know when you go in some like, they drain me. You might go pull energy from somebody else.
Can trauma cause a victim mentality?
yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Cause it, yeah.
a wise woman said to me a few weeks ago, she said, I was like, when I grew up, children was to be seen and not heard. And she said, no, they need to be seen and heard. And I was like, I thought about it for a second, and that's true. You know, a lot of times we don't listen to the youth to see what they need, what most motivates them, so that we can help steer them in the direction where we're trying to, make them go. In roofing, we put saddles on the roof to direct the water to the drain. So we got to put saddles in the minds of children to direct them in the way that we want them to go.
Amen.
So
Good.
so that's how we gotta address, and we can't direct them in a way that we gotta hear what they are trying to say to us.
And I believe, like Coach Dwayne said, also, you no matter what, a solution is always planting them seeds. You
Mhm.
still got to plant
Yes.
what's truthful in them. Be it, like Dr. Lisa said, it takes a
Well,
village
to
do
raise
it.
a child.
You may not have any kids, or you may not have any nieces and nephews, but
Mhm.
wherever you see, you're supposed to plant seeds.
'Cause-
That's good.
Yeah,
Very
'cause
good.
those seeds being planted, it does happen in our adulthood. We start to see like, my
Mhm.
mama was telling me before, do make sense.
Right. And
You
see,
know what I
like,
mean?
we might not see the tree growing up, but if we plant the seed, there's somebody else come and water it. But as the Bible say, God brings the increase. So it's good to plant seeds, positive seeds, because I speak to a lot of youth. So there's a responsibility to me to try to send them in the right direction. You know, so I always try to do that because I know that's my purpose and my calling is to direct them from ending up where I ended up at, which was 30 years of prison. Because they don't mind keeping us there. You and I both know that, and Dwayne.
So I want to first define what victim is. So
Okay, come on.
a person harmed, injured, or killed
Mhm.
as a result of a crime, accident, or other event or action. Now, that's what a victim is. A victim mentality is when a person views themselves as a victim in
Mhm.
various situations,
Mhm.
but even when there is evidence
Mhm.
otherwise,
Wise. They still feel like they the victim.
oftentimes a victim mentality is a mentality of choice.
I like that because
And we
otherwise,
don't
make
want
it
to
the choice.
accept that. We want to
Mhm.
blame everybody.
Everybody.
We want to blame the universe. No, it's a
Mhm.
choice.
Mhm.
There was a experiment that was done with several animal group packs: wolves, lions,
Hyenas.
hyenas,
Mhm.
and they did it in two different versions. They did a control version where they took, I think it was 3 or 4 of them, and they raised them from cubs, man-made intervention, and then they took another similar 3 or 4 of them,
Mhm.
and they let them be wild.
Mhm.
They had them enclosed and some type, but they let them do their thing.
Mhm.
And over the course of, I think it was 15 to 20 years,
Mhm.
this experiment went on.
Mhm.
And so their thought was, oh, well, we can tame the wild. We can change
Mhm.
how they think by what we interject into
Mhm.
their life.
Right.
They
Mhm.
were surprised
Mhm.
when they took the controlled animals. They let them go in the wild
Mhm.
because they thought, well, we'll see what's going to happen. They're not going to be able to survive.
Mhm.
Their instinct
Mhm.
of who they were,
Mhm.
who they were created to be,
Be.
kicked
Mhm.
in.
Right.
And they were able to assimilate
This back into the pack.
back to who they were.
Mhm.
We are no different. Time has shown us from biblical to uh, through wars, through transitions, we are resilient, we are intelligent, we are in one alignment with the universe, creation, whatever you want to call it. We have the tenacity to create regardless of our circumstance, our
Right.
situation. From Black Wall Street to civil rights
Mhm.
to Black power, whatever, we have the ability to not allow anything or anyone to define us. But we've gotten to the point where we just want to whine and complain because we don't want to accept the fact that in order for me as an individual, us as a collective to move forward, we got to shut up.
Okay.
We got to get up
Deep.
and we have to
Mhm.
do something.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Maturity.
I see the love I see the light. I understand light of Now I also want to challenge that
I was going to put up a rebuttal as well. Go ahead.
because we're first like we got always have to consider the source of a thing. Where do we get this term victim mentality from? Right?
Mhm.
Because we do have a source of people. We do have an ethnic group of people that celebrate their past all the time, and
Mhm.
they own most of this real estate out here in the world. Where we at all of that, right? I don't got to say it, right?
Mhm.
All right. So if we look at those people, right, they influence a lot of the education, like the Sigmund Freud. A lot of psychology is based on Sigmund Freud theory.
Teach.
You get what I mean? So if we know that theory is not in our best interest, now what's happening is our people have been victimized,
Yes.
right?
Still.
Right. So we can't blame the oppressed without blaming the oppressor. My poor people just looking for somebody to say, "You did it." right?
Mhm.
And I get that, right? Because it's called The Unseen Hand. It's a book by Ralph.
Okay,
Ellison.
yeah.
You read it? Yeah, The Unseen Hand, right?
I haven't
So it's
read
like
it,
the
but I know
invisible
what you're talking about.
bully.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Oh, they're just playing victim.
No, the Rock had the hand.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all play victim too. Every time somebody posts up something that's really our symbol and they just flipped it back,
Mhm.
y'all play victim when somebody does that. Y'all play victim about what that man had his idea of, little mustache man. He had something in mind, an idea about somebody being what do you call that?
Evolution.
Yeah, the evolution of something that wasn't real, ish.
Mhm.
8-ish, orange-ish, red-ish. It's not just the derivative of a thing. It's not a real thing. He said, hey, y'all imposters.
Ish, right.
What y'all
You're
doing?
trying to
Right?
be like
They got
that.
an idea about that.
Right.
Okay.
Right? So they become victims,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now we got to say they were victims, so were we. And we were victims of something that hasn't been solved because it was a purpose, it was a reason. And we just want to know what that reason is, but we don't have time to figure it out because we got to pay bills.
Now,
But real quick. So playing off of that,
mm-hmm.
these individuals, this set group of individuals, yes, everything you said is correct. But the difference between them and us is even though their history was singular, our history is universal.
Yes, indeed.
And our history is right here.
What do you mean?
It's in this computer. And before this computer, there were books.
Before the book.
Okay.
And there were stories.
It was
the oral stories.
What we have chosen to do
The oral history.
is not continue learning our history.
Yeah.
And there's the other part to that is we have to accept the truth that our history is not linear. Our history is varied from every aspect of this planet. So our history is not going to be told by anybody's one narrative, one belief.
Right.
It is everything that makes everything up. When we accept that mentality, then we can then take that history and build on it.
But so you saying our history is not singular?
No.
I say I beg to differ because God is a source. So after the source, then comes the material world, which is duality. So you have to have a 0 before you have a 1.
From a spiritual aspect, you're absolutely
That's what
correct.
everything is. I stand to
But
be
everybody's
corrected.
not. But everybody's not there.
They are, but they can go there. Right.
Everybody doesn't.
So I count from 0 to 9.
The thing is, remember I said the only thing I disagree with, I agree with what you were saying, Dwayne. But what I disagree with is the only thing that makes us different from the wolves and animals. Man is the only thing out of line in the universe. Everything else has a nature that you was talking about, how the animals return to, the control animals. So, they do their nature. Man, we don't do our nature because we got a will. And that's what the problem is. A lot of times we'll allow our will for one thing to override the will of God or the will of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So we the only thing in the universe that's out of whack. That's the only thing I disagree.
A1, what were you going to say?
Okay, I had a question for all three of you guys.
Okay.
So how does a victim mentality show up in everyday life, and what can it shift?
It shows up through one of the 7 evils. It shows up through greed, like what we think we deserve everything. It shows up through fear.
7 fruits of the spirit,
It restricts the will. It shows up in false pride, which comes from bad information. It shows up in the aspect of one of those 7 evils, if not all 7 of them. Laziness. You get what I mean? That's how it shows up. It shows up from anything that restricts the will, that stops the will from turning. Yeah, that's how it shows up.
I like that, Dwayne.
It shows up in the very first thought you have when you open up your eyes in the morning. If your thought is, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make this make this day great, then you're not a victim. If you go, oh, this hurts, oh my God, this day, then you all have already set in motion that day, that week, what it's going to be. Because you've already decided before you even roll over that you are not worthy of going beyond where you already are.
And I think
That's
that's
good.
why
It's very good.
that's why knowledge is so important,
Mhm.
because a lot of these things, like I was talking about, self-sabotage mindsets, a lot of people don't have the knowledge to even think on those things or know what they are. You got people get up in the morning, and I watch them. The first thing they say was, when they get up in the morning, what the weatherman said. Oh, the weather about to be bad. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Oh, they said it's gonna be rough out here. Oh yeah, the concrete is the holes in the pot. Like, they don't even see themselves. I see positive people believing they're positive but saying those things.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the question because A1 had two parts of that question. The last part of that question said what?
Last part of that question: how does it show up in the everyday life, and what can it shift to?
So basically he's asking, when you have a victim mindset, you know what I'm saying, how do you shift it? And that's where we want to go now. We want to go to what we stand for as Don't Talk At Me, Talk To Me. Let's talk about these solutions as we head out of the podcast. So what would you say to that question he had? What would be some of the solutions to a victim mindset?
Okay, one solution is to not blame others for what happens to you. That, I would say, that would be one of the main ones, because a lot of us do that. You know, oh well, it's your fault. What? No, it's my fault because I didn't get up like I was supposed to, or I wasn't here when I was supposed to be here, or whatever the situation is. We got to accept responsibility. Accepting responsibility takes away the victim mentality.
Bounce off of responsibility, we also have what we call accountability, right?
Good,
So you want to
good.
be able to count your blessing,
Mm-hmm.
adopt the attitude of gratitude.
Very
Always
good.
could be worse. I got through years like that.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
Mhm.
Looking
Most
at people,
definitely.
it always could be worse. Monday, great, let's go.
Right. I love that.
Gratitude. Gratitude is a great force of nature.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne?
I would say putting decision into action.
Okay, good.
Decide who you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and then put that into action. I said before on this program, in my bedroom, normally when I wake up, I face a wall, and at the ceiling, I wrote faith or fear. That's the very first thing I see when I open up my eyes.
That's good.
Because that's gonna let me know, okay, what decision am I gonna make?
Right.
And once I
love
make
that.
my decision, then everything else builds from there. You would have to decide who you want to be, and then you have to figure out what you need to do to motivate yourself to put that in action,
Right.
and then go from there.
Okay, Dr. Lisa?
Dr. Lisa wasn't saying nothing.
Uh,
Hey, well, I'm just going to say this, that it all goes back to spirituality, I believe.
Mhm.
You need to be rooted and grounded in God, because He is a keeper. He changes your mindset.
Yes.
And if you're a believer, everybody's not a believer. But you need to be rooted and grounded. So it helps you to be a better you, because when you're connected to God, then He can teach you about you. Who better to teach you than who created you, right?
That's very good.
So when you come to know who your true identity is, it's because you built a relationship with Him, and He can teach you about you and what's in you, and who you are and what you've been called to do. So it will help you to shape your life better by knowing really who you are and why are you here? Why do you exist? Why were you born? What's your purpose in life? It helps you to navigate through life much better.
Okay, speaking of spiritualities, Bridget.
Yeah, I wanted Bridget to chime in on that. I'm quite sure she has some input.
Especially as an educator.
Yes, especially as an educator.
Okay, well, as an educator, I listened to the thoughts about and the conversation about that 0 to 7 years old. Kids are sponges. They take in
That's good.
everything, everything. And it's amazing to watch a baby grow and watch them reach for flowers on the sheet or how they just take in the world with no inhibitions, with no fear. And like you said, you know that they can take on the world because they are not afraid, even with that STEAM program where the engineering part comes in.
Yes.
When you learn to work on that computer, you were apprehensive about what you touched and what would happen when you touched it. They're not apprehensive at all. They're going to touch everything. They're going to try it out. They're going to everything. So that's what I'm excited about, being able to create that mindset.
All right.
Pick off of that. Thank you. To pick off of that, the 0 to 7, all hope is not lost. For those, young
Right.
Yeah,
That
so
part.
that's just something that it shapes your mindset. But I would give this advice, and you can go proof check this, proof read it, fact check it, whatever.
Okay.
If you can be guided, if you're willing to be guided, right, up to your first 25 years of your life, if guided the proper way, you can take care of yourself for the rest of your life.
That's
So
good.
you got somebody who right there by you, say, do
I
this,
love
do
that.
that, and you listen. Do this, I want you to listen to me till you 25. A mentor, do this, do that, do that, do that. And you follow them steps,
Yes, sir.
you coast.
I love that.
Like, look at the
baby.
young guys
Yeah.
right now who the coaches kept them playing football and basketball. They getting contracts going into college now.
Right.
You understand? Taking care of themselves for the rest of their life.
Themselves.
So if you can allow somebody to actually be in your life and listen to them and know they got your best interest in mind, it'll take care of you for the rest of your life.
It takes.
Okay, I got one more question. Come back to spirituality. What advice would you give someone trying to unlearn a toxic belief?
The question's for me.
Everybody.
What was that again?
Okay, my question was, what advice would you give someone trying to unlearn a toxic belief?
Oh, deprogramming.
Yep.
How do we do programming? Yeah,
I would want to say that one of the first things, and I was going to say this before you asked that question. When you get something positive in your life, no matter what it is, it's going to have some type of instruction to it. It's going to have some type of steps to it. It's not just enough to be to acknowledge that your mindset may be a victim, a sabotager, something negative. You have to put something in that place. So you have to take steps. You either got to attain knowledge. You got to either be around, practice affirmations. Affirmations is one of the most excellent things you do because you're constantly telling yourself, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And what happens to the engine? When we're told when you say you think you can, it gets
Picks up
going.
speed.
So you have to, and the Bible says, be ye a doer of the word, not a hearer only, deceiving yourself.
That's
so
good.
you have to practice something out. It's not enough to acknowledge. You have to practice. If I'm an adult and I want to do something different with weight, then I'm going to have to practice that thing. I can't think that because I acknowledge it. I can go around all day and say, yeah, I need to lose some weight. I need to lose some weight. But unless I apply what sister says, some discipline. If I apply some discipline, I'm going to make a routine. If I apply the routine, but you have to do that. And that's why the Bible also says you can't be weak. You have to be strong because it takes a strong person to walk into discipline. It takes a strong person to acknowledge that something is wrong. It takes a strong person to put something in steps. And that's what we have to do. You have to make an action. If you getting up every morning saying, oh, the day is gonna be bad, and
It's gonna be bad.
Right.
If you
Speak
know
in
you're doing
existence.
that, so you have to practice getting up in the morning
you get it
and
already.
doing what Coach saying. Coach Dwight said he put affirmations on a wall. Where you have to get up saying everything is lovely or it just looks beautiful. You gotta have to put something into practice.
You got almost
Until
be
it-
Without the animation.
Yeah.
You
That's
also need
good.
to get around positive people.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
You need
Yeah.
positive people in your life to help move you forward. If you're always around negative because what you take in is what you put out.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Right.
So the answer
So
to I'm sorry.
everything around you must change. What
Yes,
you
indeed.
watch, what you listen to,
Mhm.
where you go, because change got to first begin in you.
You got to want that.
Right.
I was at a job with a guy like that. He was just so negative about everything. He was just draining my energy so much. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, everything was just, pessimistic instead of optimistic.
And then you can't take like the toxic thing. You can't take something out of somebody's hand without replacing it
With
Robin
something.
said. So you got to
Yeah.
be able to replace it. So the
That's
good
good.
thing about children
Mhm.
is if they watching too much TV, we can turn that off and say play with them blocks. Do something.
Replace
Play
it,
with
yeah.
no TV for 2 days.
Mhm.
We can control that. But the older a person it's get hard to be
Just
able
get
to
them out of
get
them
what I'm
set
saying.
ways. Yeah.
But I
That's
want
one
y'all to
thing we
stop
learned from
saying that,
prison.
though. But I want y'all to stop saying that because if it can come on, it can come off.
Definitely.
See, we condition ourselves to believe it's an age. We at a certain age, yes, we know children absorb, like sponges when they're young. But watch this: what a baby is innocent, right?
Mhm.
But a baby pay attention to everything that you do,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and how the baby learns is from what they see
Mhm.
and their environment.
That's right.
So watch this: if the baby is seeing you smoking and drinking all the
Mhm.
time in front of them, and this is what they're going to start doing when they get of age to do it.
Mhm.
It's whatever your environment is teaching you is what you pick up,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So the baby can't talk yet, but the baby can see very well, and the baby can
Mhm.
hear very well.
When they
And
see
the
you on that
baby's
phone,
senses.
that's what they're gonna want to do.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Instead of
it
reading.
doesn't matter what age
Yeah.
you are. If you
Mhm.
want to change can take place, right?
Yes.
It is a little bit more difficult
Yeah.
when we get older. Why? Because we set in our
The
ways
ways, yeah.
and
You
we
gotta be
lived this way for
dissatisfied.
50 years,
Mhm.
60 years. And
You got to be
this is the way
dissatisfied.
that we know, and now you got to be deprogrammed. And the hardest
Mhm.
part is people don't want to be deprogrammed because they think the way that they doing it is
Is
the
the
right
right
way.
way. Right.
We live in a generation to where our wrong have become our right. So
Why?
Yeah.
much so
Why?
that
Yeah.
because we made it. We made our wrong our right and we live in it. And no matter
How
how
did we get there?
your mindset, that's how you got there.
I bet to add to that.
Mhm.
You
Media.
Propagation.
Propaganda,
what do you
yeah,
mean by
yeah.
media? So this is my thing. A lot of habits are bad
Well, let's deal
habits
with
because-
reality now. Reality, statistic
Oh
wise,
yeah, especially reality
nobody
shows.
without media.
Right.
They made the
Well,
government.
some people
The government made sure they
still
give you
without
phones
media.
so you
What
won't
I'm
have that.
trying to say is, I'm
That's
agreeing
good,
to
Robert.
disagree that, but
Mhm.
that everybody don't have media, but we form bad habits,
Mhm.
product of our environment.
Mm-hmm.
But you can change. Everybody is open to change. If they
Possibility.
want to change, you can change. There is a way out because anything that comes on can come off.
So now we talking about possibility and probabilities.
Mhm.
So elaborate.
So everything is possible. So
Yeah,
what you say, you can. Yes, we can.
I
Now
like
the
that.
probabilities of us doing that gets very hard because bad habits are hard to break.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
when
not impossible.
Not saying they're impossible. We're dealing with
Right.
the possibility is infinite.
Mhm.
Probability is the
Yeah,
problem.
the problem,
Because
right.
now we got
Mhm.
time, which is bills.
Yeah.
Now we got different. We accountable for so many things that we can't even do
Be
what's
distracted
possible.
from there.
And that's why our goal is to teach the new
Good
generation
illustration.
that
Very
what's
good.
possible and how to
Mhm.
keep your problems to a minimum so you can do what's really possible.
Right.
Because the adults don't change until they dissatisfied.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Let me
So
give
if they
us
don't-
a-
But you know what?
That's it. Or get tired.
We talk about
Mm-hmm.
the babies. Wonderful, but listen, the babies they're not watching this podcast.
Teach.
They're not going to listen to this podcast.
Teach.
No.
Mhm.
And so we have to again stop making excuses.
Yes.
Stop looking all around
Yes.
and come
Mhm.
to the understanding. Answering your question, we have to give ourselves grace,
Yep.
Mhm.
mercy,
Yep.
and the understanding that we are limitless. Because when we enact any change, even going back to talking about the
Come
kids,
on.
but let's talk about the adults.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it.
Mhm.
I like drinking this. It ain't good for me. but I'm gonna drink it.
You ain't tired.
Okay,
Right.
but guess what? My doctor done told me, everybody else, the church done told me, y'all done told me. So guess what? I'm make the decision to stop drinking it. But guess what? Just because I made that decision, it's not gonna be easy. I'm gonna do 3 days, I'm gonna be good. That fourth day,
Right back.
I gotta give myself grace and mercy.
Mm-hmm.
That when I fall,
You
okay,
could
that's
get back
one
up.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
Give myself grace and mercy.
That's good.
Hey, make sure I understand that as long as I can go inhale and exhale, I got an opportunity to make a decision
Right.
to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. Change is never going to be easy. It's never going to be overnight, but it is always possible depending on what you want to do and depending on how much grace and mercy you give yourself. Not turning it into church, but you know the whole thing about the children of Israel, why it took them 40 years to make a 7-day journey, was because they didn't want to change.
Right. That's what it was.
They did not want to change. They didn't want to.
That's good.
They didn't
Comfort
want to give
zones.
up habits. They didn't want to change mindsets. They didn't want to change their clothes.
Right.
They didn't want to change.
Comfort mindset.
And that's why some of them had to die. That's why generations.
Not some of them, all of them,
Well,
but two.
that's why people understand generation is 20 years. So that's why 2 generations of people had to die.
Right.
Because that mindset, those habits, all those things had to literally die.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
Had
what's
to
so
be
deep
replaced.
about
Good.
that you use the 40? They watch miracles. They watch the sea open up. They watch all kinds of things take place.
That's good.
And yet their mindset still didn't get that they were
Change.
going to enter into a land of milk and honey. And because their mindset didn't receive that, they couldn't go.
And so
Right.
let's
That's good. Very
let's
good.
let's put that in today. Some of us are going to die without making any changes. And our kids
That's the truth.
are going to
Wow.
have to deal with
That's the
the
reality.
brunt of our death while trying to make a decision. Do I want to do what mama and them did, or do I want to do something different?
Mm-hmm. And that's it.
And if we don't want our children to bear that burden, then we have to make the decision. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And what do I need to do to get there?
We can't be afraid of the
Turn the
change.
TV
You know,
off.
to embrace the change. We do have to, cause change ain't necessarily a bad thing. It's just moving away from what you're comfortable at doing.
Is social media being a comfort zone for a mind to not change mindset?
I think it is for a lot of younger people. They're on the social media generation. So they. But one thing I remember when George Floyd got killed, I was happy because when I was in Saginaw, not happy about George Floyd, but I was happy to see the young people rallying. I looked up, I seen all the young people with picket signs and out there standing up for George Floyd. And I'm like, you know what? I smiled at myself because I was just happy that they, the generation before them, they wasn't embracing standing up for nothing. And I'm like, okay, these young people get it. They unified. Even if it was for that moment. I could be proud that they stood for something and just didn't fall for anything.
It's my duty and my job to remind the children who they are because we lost our last name. What's your last name, A1?
Me, Hood.
All right, that's connected to something. So no matter what you think about, you don't want to hear that. Every time you say that last name, it's connected to something. And we connected to something.
All right.
5,000 years ago, it was somebody with my nose, somebody with my eyes, somebody with your eyes. You know what I mean? So 2,200 years ago, it was somebody with my nose and my eyes, right? So they're still in us. When we're born, we already 3 people. You're your mother, you're your father, and then you, right?
That's good.
That's the first Trinity. You get what I'm saying? So you got to know how to combine that and create this personality, and that's what our job is, to be able to guide. Because once we become adults, it's hard to break bad habits.
Yeah,
but they can be broke.
But they can
be broke, but it's hard.
It's hard, and that's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just touching bases on that subculture, thinking, I don't want to hear about the past. But all of the ethnic groups that do honor their father, that they stick in the scripture, All of the ones that do that are powerful groups.
It is because, like you say, a name identifies who you are. That's why we give our children names, are supposed to,
Yeah.
with character that represents something. And we talked about that a
I know
few weeks
exactly.
ago.
I know exactly what land you from. I know exactly what you ethnic group you
Right.
connected to because of your name.
Name, right.
If I tell you my last name, you're gonna be like, "You just a nigga."
Right.
I'm like, no, man, I come from an empire, man.
This is where I
Right.
disagree because here's the thing: your name means nothing.
Excuse me.
I
just want to hear it. I just
Yeah,
want to
your name means nothing because here's the thing:
Yeah.
if I'm deaf, I can't hear your name, but I can see your character.
Respect.
I can see
Respect.
what was implanted in you. And that's what makes a people great.
Yes, indeed.
The character that they carry, the actions that they interact and interchange with one another. I don't care what your name is. At the end of the day, it's what people see that they're going to honor. They're going to honor you. They're going to take honor in wanting to know more about you.
Yes, indeed.
So A1 as a youth, what do you think about what do you view about character?
Give me an example.
That's my point right there.
Oh, just like a character. Oh, character.
The composition.
No, hold on.
Who a
Excuse
person is.
me. This is the point that I'm making for the youth. They have to understand these things as milk, like character, like mindset. Like we have to not talk at them, but talk to them. We have to show them what character means.
Yeah.
We have to show them what mindsets mean, because we may think that they know, but they don't know. So back to you, A1, character.
A character is basically a character is who the person is, the personality of a person, and who is the person, what type of person he is. Character, you could be a smart character, you could be a smart character. Yeah.
Character is the code and conduct in which you carry yourself.
That too.
You know what I mean? So no matter if you bad, you good. That's the code you live.
Okay.
You know what I
can
mean?
be good or bad. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So
character is who you are. Your personality.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a point guard, so I'm great. Throw that alley-oop up. But I spoke on Proverbs 22:1 about a good name, and a good name attributes to character. When Jacob was Jacob meant deceiver. That's why God changes his name, because he couldn't lead the children of Israel into the promised land or teach them anything, being a deceiver. So that's why the angel changes his name, because after he wrestled with him to Israel, because it was something greater. So until we and that leads back to the character. So his name represented a bad character. As soon as I see somebody with the name Jacob, and that's the truth. That's
for real.
I got a question.
Well, because you laughing.
No, I was talking figurative and literal. Because you gotta see the thing about reading. My bad if I cut you off.
You good? Good.
The thing about reading, right? It's just not all literal. Sometimes it's
spiritual.
It's figurative, literal, and then it's in parables to protect the wisdom that's in it.
So
you know what I mean? So you gotta be,
So piggybacking off, if it's not literal, then again, the name is irrelevant. It's the it's the actions that stand out. Because here's the thing.
That's so true.
Okay,
that's a layer.
Can I throw this alley oop again?
It's just not the whole truth.
Let me
blanket truth like the name.
Hold on, let me say this first, baby.
Let's define character.
Hey, but before you do that, let me say this. When I went to Marquette, they stuck me between two brothers.
Yeah.
One was greedy and one was grimy. So what you think I thought as soon as I got there? I hear somebody call grimy, the guy on my right answer. I hear somebody call greedy, and that's the truth. What I'm telling you, greedy. So what you think I'm sitting there, I'm like, what have I got into now? And I had faked a heart attack to get off the bus to get to Marquette, and that's the spot guys stuck me in. So what you think? Grimy, greedy. So I always use that illustration. It's a true illustration. People might think I'm just making this up, but that's true story, you know. And so the first thing that hit me was, okay, watch these two brothers.
Yeah. And I believe what I kind of well, I agree with all of you guys, but the one thing I believe is what Coach Coach Dwight saying. Name yes and name yes at one time, and I hope it come back. We name children over meanings, and we have a lot of mothers now name children with meanings that's because names were supposed to be for your destiny and your purpose and your family to give you a name. But when that was stripped from us, that became of none importance.
Right.
But what brother said is true, that character never left. And one of the profound things that you said about Jacob, and that's why we always have hope, is that God spoke that on Jacob before he was that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to walk into that.
Yes, that's very good.
You literally just proved my point. Because my name was Dwayne, but she called me Dwight. See, here's the thing. Regardless of my name, it's what she said. Is what I said, and I think that's the whole point.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And that's why I called you Dwight at
But
that
here's
time.
the thing, though. Whatever your character is an inner reflection of what you believe
in
and what you manifest from your belief.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what your name is, your character is either going to show your crown or it's going to show your horn.
Is
one or the other.
Is it possible not to have character?
Impossible. Let me add this. Like
if it's a reflection, go ahead.
Let's define character.
The
mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual.
So it's possible not to have morals.
So would you tell me what I used to call myself, baby? 149 bad boy Jeff? And would you tell me?
Don't call yourself that because you're not a bad boy.
See, that's a personal
your
thing.
Your name holds weight. However you want to look at it, your name holds weight.
It does.
You carry your name for a reason, and it could be bad or it could be good. It depends on you, on your character. You make the name don't make you.
Nah, the name don't make you.
So let's bring mindset with character.
And all of us was right. You know what I'm saying?
There's no right or wrong in growth.
No, it's not.
It's a purpose.
Right.
For me, even hearing that analogy, that names don't mean nothing, because I'm stuck on names are being golden, right? But you just took me to the spiritual side of it. Because that's where the deaf person can see your actions. So this is a good spirit. And the deaf person don't know my name.
And the reason why I say that, I'm Bridget gonna say something.
I love that. That's good.
When our family's named her, I don't know about you all, but my mama named me. She wasn't talking about no destiny. Maybe she could have, because I do have a distinctive name. But what I'm saying is a lot of times when parents named, I know when I named my children, I was trying to get them to blend in with what their daddy's name was, or something that was I liked in my ear at that time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a mindset to name until my last. So I didn't have a mindset to that. I was thinking of a name that was going to be beautiful or unique. I wasn't thinking on my inheritance and where it's going to take me to. And I wasn't giving them a name to say, hey, this is the journey. Whatever towards the journey, I was giving them a name that was going to be cute when it said.
You weren't on that
make it stick out.
Levita thing off of Steve Harvey, where she got all the cousins named after the latest drinks.
You got that too.
But that is cultural. Not to cut up real quick, but that is cultural to us. That most times when we name our children, those names have a meaning. It may not have the
direction.
That's a good way to put it.
It may not have the biblical definition or context.
It had a meaning at the time,
or the tribal definition, but it has a meaning for whatever that parent, that mom, that family unit believed or accepted that name to be. And I think for us, we've got to get back to resting in that before we go start looking for something else.
Well, yeah.
Hold
on, Bridget.
I was going to talk about mindset and character.
Yes.
Okay.
Going hand to hand to me.
Okay.
A lot of times that mindset will bring about that character.
Yes.
So you saying the mindset is supposed to align with the character?
It's supposed to.
It's gonna show the
Mhm.
character.
And
Character is
a
a
lot of
product
times
the
that
mindset, she
mindset is going to show that character,
Okay. Okay. Good.
depending on where that person is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
And
Rico.
I was thinking that,
Oh.
like she said, the product of a mindset is the character, and so a name can set a mindset.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So
what I was thinking
that's
too.
why when you
Yeah.
say you're not a bad person, that's why we try to say you're not bad, you good, because we know that title will set that mindset, and that mindset will
Mhm.
produce that character. But at this, like we know we done had some, like you said, some new age names that, like, what do that mean? It don't mean the same thing it meant when
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
you got a lot of people who like, I hate my mama name me,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, they say this is new. It's a saying.
Mhm.
It's not new. It's just new to me. I do this for my last name, not my first. You know
Rico.
what I'm saying? That's the
I was just gonna
Not
say,
to cut
like,
you off, AD.
wasn't I don't feel there's anything that anybody said was wrong. I just feel like the way he probably said it, like a name means nothing,
Mhm.
is what kind
Yeah.
of threw y'all off. But it's I understand what he's saying,
yeah.
but it's layers to everything. But
Right,
also
right.
we have to backtrack to what the conversation started about.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you asked him his last name. So that's what we going back to, how our culture was stripped from us.
Mhm.
Certain people, by their last name, if they're a Jew or if they're
Christian,
Greek or Christian or
Muslim.
Albanian or Yugoslavian or whatever, you know what I'm saying, Swedish. But when you asked us, we can't really tell you exactly what our full background of our heritage comes from.
Because of that name.
So
Mhm.
what happens at that point, though, where it's like going back to what he was saying about the name. I really use my real name that my mother named me.
Yeah.
And that's Enrico Andre. And I use that for so many different things, even though Scott is my last name that's on paper. But I don't really know no Scotts. My only Scotts I knew was my family and one of my grandparents or something like that. But my father's siblings and stuff, none of their names is Scott neither. Except his sister might have been Scott, but she got married. So I don't know no Scott in my family right now, except not even my sister, because she's married. A couple of my children is Scots, but I don't know them like that. But long story short, going back to what he was saying, when you lose a sense of your identity and you just out here or whatever, that's like the environments we put in, the last names and stuff like that. We have to dig back and go all the way back to the root to analyze ourselves. What is your purpose? And the root is God.
Yes, indeed.
No matter where you come from or this, that, and other. So that's how you have to look inside of yourself and see your greatness. Like some people, if you grow up in a roach infested rats and stuff in your neighborhood, sometimes you feel like you get comfortable with being a bottom feeder. But if you look inside of yourself and see that the God is inside of you, and then you can become in the image and likeness of that. Just look inside of yourself. So you have to do the self-analysis, which also connects to a few other things y'all was saying earlier. Once you start to analyze yourself, you can start to correct different things. And if you look at, you have to look at nature. Everything is a reflection of everything else. The mind, if you look at the darkness that's in the mind, it's the same as the darkness that's in the womb, the darkness that's in the ground, and you plant seeds in all of them and they grow. So everything is a reflection. So if I'm looking at some things we have to destroy, but a lot of times we have to destroy that old wicked mindset or that lost mindset that we have.
Right.
And you have to look at, like, far as God and like the way God created the world, or if you look at how far as nature, far as how the earth, if you plant stuff and it grows, or the womb, everything is giving life.
Right.
So if you're not conducting yourself in a way where you're teaching and giving life, then you're on the wrong path. You just, you know what I'm saying? You're on the wrong side of the coin for the most part. Or if you look at going back to zero, what he said, that zero is that pool of infinite possibilities. That's that cipher.
Right.
It depends on which way you going down that timeline, towards the negative
Or the
or the
positive.
positive.
Right.
Whichever side you feed the most, it's all coming from that same pool. Your strength and your weakness is one and the same.
Mhm.
Yes, that was great.
Yeah, very
as we
great.
head out, and I know this podcast is definitely going to need a part two. As we usher ourselves out, Bridget, would you like to say something before we what would be your last comments before we close the podcast?
Nothing will work until you do.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Sister
Dr.
Lisa, what would
Lisa?
you say, Dr. Lisa?
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That's good.
Coach Dwayne.
Grace, mercy, and options.
Yes. Grace, mercy, and options. Awesome.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Thank you for this
Podcast. A1.
You're welcome.
Get closer to God.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Greatness is in you. Just let it rise up and come out you.
Yes.
Save that money. It's gonna save you.
Yes. You want to usher us out?
Well, you just heard everybody's final thoughts. We're about ready to get out of here. This is Don't Talk at Me, Talk to Me. And we'll talk to you next week with part 2 of the mindset. Peace.